So we're gonna go into the ab series that I like to do. I like to use a bolster. You can also roll up a towel or a blanket if you choose. I like to raise those hips up, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Yes, so we're gonna do the ab series. Hips lifted is best. And let me tell you why. We're gonna sit down on that bolster or that towel, and we're gonna shimmy those hips forward. And we're gonna lay back so that we're in a supported bridge pose. You'll notice my bolster is pretty much from the base of the ribs all the way to the sits bones. So I'm very, very comfortable. In fact, I could fall asleep here, and maybe I will. I hope I don't, but maybe I will. Legs are about hip width apart, maybe about 1.5 feet from the sits bones. And I'm gonna take a little bit of a breath here and just allow my body and my back to sink into the mat. Remembering that bridge pose, palms down, and the bolster is in the way, so you're gonna have to adjust a little. And on an easy inhale, we peel the hips off and lift up the hips. And we're extending the back from the thoracic down to the sacral, or the tailbone actually. Shoulders are remaining down, hands to stabilize you. You don't want to tuck in that chest or that chin too much to the chest. You just want to be pretty neutral with the rest. So this is actually an inversion because we're lifting the hips above the heart. If that's too much for you, you can keep those hips down, and by virtue of being on the bolster or a lift in the hips, technically you are getting an inversion here. All right. So next we're going to take the knees to the chest. Again, this next section is for the abdominals. It's really important to strengthen the abdominals, especially as we age, because if we're not going to have strong abdominal muscles, strong abs, it's much easier to say abs, that lower back is going to take the brunt of it. The lower back will work and work and work if the abdominals are not strengthened. And that's why one of the reasons we have so much lower back pain in the world, and I know because I worked on bodies for 23 years by doing myofascial therapy, that lower back will give out eventually. And hopefully maybe it'll just put you, oh, I've got pain. Sometimes it can literally just kick your ass. So what I would suggest is strengthening the abdominals, but doing it safely. So I'm going to show you a good way to do it. We're going to do some scissoring. Knees comes up to the chest, legs come up. So I want you to watch my lower back here. As long as my legs are at 90 or above, closer to my chest, I am stimulating the abs slightly, right? As soon as I bring my legs down, you'll see how I'm arching up. That means my lower back is kicking in. We don't want that. We want to work the front of the body in this. So we're going to keep these legs up. Here, I want you to take that left leg closer to the chest and bring the right leg down slightly. So there's your scissoring, right? And we're going to go slow, and we're going to switch. And that's all we're going to do. We're going to keep the work in the abs. Now as you get stronger, you'll be able to keep this leg high and bring that other leg way down. So I'm feeling it here. And then we switch. And we do an easy set. Slower is better. Don't worry about shaking or trembling. That just means you're pushing your limit. You're working what needs to be worked. The work is in the front of the body, the abdominals, and we're switching. Now, if you want to add a layer of intensity, you can lift those hips up as your feet come together, and then go back down. If you want to add a super layer of intensity, you can keep the sits bones or the hips slightly raised as you do the scissors. So you're going to do your first set. And you'll know when you're done. because your body will tell you. Knees bend to the chest, and feet come down. So if you want to go longer than me, just pause the video. You can go for another minute or two if you choose. But when you come back to neutral, allow your body to stretch out on the mat. If you're on the bolster or the towel, you might have a little compression in the low back as you stretch those legs out and arms come overhead, stretching the body in both directions. That little compression in the lower back is fine. If it's too much, then just keep the knees bent. All right, we're gonna do another series of that, except now we're gonna add the arms. So I'm gonna give you a starting position. That left leg is gonna come towards the chest, just like we did. Right leg goes down into the scissors. Right arm comes up. So if that that right leg is going down, the right arm comes up. Left leg is coming up. Left hand goes down by the hips, and that's your starting position. And then you switch, and we're scissoring this time both legs and arms. So we're doing opposite leg and arm on each side. Still keeping that high leg high, so we're not kicking in the lower back. If you want to do the lift, when everything meets in the center, you can lift those sits bones up. And again, how long? Good question. I started with this in my studio 2.5 years ago, and I've got people coming now, and they do some pretty long sets of scissoring now. But luckily, all of them have remained safe and not strained their lower back in the process and have strengthened their abs. So I'm pretty proud of that. That guidance, because it was a real challenge for me to try and find ab exercises that could work for a big group along the spectrum of abilities and intensities. So there you have that. And then we're going to take another break, take a few breaths, and relax. Now we're going to bring the knees up to the chest. We're going to keep the bend in the knees and take the knees to the right. That left hip is going to come off the bolster just a bit. And then depending on the strength of those obliques and those lower back muscles, you can bring the knees closer to the mat or the floor. So we're going to just hold that, allowing the upper body to stay square. And I want you to be really respectful and go very slowly with this, because this will stimulate those low back muscles. So you want to just be very respectful. You don't want them to go into contraction or spasm. So coming through center, and then we're going to take the knees to the other side. Gently and slowly, holding it at a point where you're working, but you're not straining. Coming through center again. Knees come to the other side. So right knees go to the right, left hip points towards the ceiling. Shoulders stay relatively square. Coming through center and to the other side one more time. Bringing the knees back to center, raising the feet towards the ceiling, bending the knees, bringing the thighs towards the chest, hugging behind the knees, and allowing the feet to come up towards the top of the mat. And again, they may not go far, but just hugging and allowing those hip flexors, which are right here, to get some compression. Nice. Now we're going to take the feet down to the mat. Take a deep breath in and out. So lifting the hips up and taking whatever support you have under the hips out and slowly bringing those hips back down. So now we're going to do some stretching to end the series. So stretching the legs out on the mat, coming into a position of neutrality to start. We're going to take that right knee up towards the shoulder, interlaced grip on top of the shin. Remember, ankle, knee, hip, and shoulder all in one line. Head is down. We're going to engage the biceps by pulling that knee towards the shoulder, compressing the ascending colon as we do so, and also compressing that right hip flexor. So we're compressing that hip flexor now. When we release that, we'll have a lot of fresh oxygenated blood flowing to that area. So you'll notice my arms are active. Eventually, shoulder and knee will touch. And we're going to release the arms down, extend the leg up, and roll that foot and ankle. And then flexing the foot, pushing the heel towards the ceiling and the toes towards the face. Marley is paying us a visit. Hello, little girl. And then let's bring that knee towards the shoulder again. And again, active arms compressing the ascending colon. You're going to release that right arm out and have that left arm guide the knee and the hip across the body. So a deep rotational stretch here. Our shoulders stay relatively square. That right shoulder might come up a little. And ideally we rest that knee or the foot on the ground. If that's not working for you, try and find a support so that you can rest that knee and leg on there so you don't have to struggle too much. This last part of stretching should just be nice and easy. To complete the rotation of the spine, if it works for you, you can take your head and turn it to the right. But if that strains the neck, then just keep it neutral or wherever you don't feel a strain in the neck. We don't want to strain the neck. Trust me on that one. So breathing fully and completely while we're in this rotational stretch. We're going to take that hip and knee, roll it back to center, bend up that left knee, take that right leg, cross it over the left, so you're sitting with your knees crossed, and then again we're going to take another roll to the left, so another rotational stretch here. Should feel that stretch through the lower back and into the thoracic and the hips as well. Deep breath in and out, coming back to center, uncrossing the legs. Let's take a breath in neutral before we do the other side. So right leg extends out, left knee bends up towards the left shoulder, active arm, keep those elbows in, bulge those biceps, compressing the left hip flexor. This time we're compressing the descending colon. This is a great sequence to do for digestion. Knee and shoulder eventually touch. And now we're going to release the arms down, extend the leg up, rolling the foot, the ankle, calling some energy to the toes and the foot and the metatarsals, which are the long bones on the foot. Metacarpals are the long bones on the hands. Lots of little muscles in between can get real stagnant. Flexing the foot, heel towards the ceiling, toes towards the nose. And then coming back into wind removing pose, pulling that left knee towards the shoulder. This time the left arm comes out and we guide that left hip and knee over to the right, cross the body, the left hip comes up towards the ceiling, and we try and just enjoy that rotational stretch. If it works for your neck, you can look towards the left and breathe into it. Breathe into it. So good. that left knee up, that right knee up, and extend and cross that left knee over that right knee. So sitting with your legs crossed and allowing yourself to roll on the outside edge of that right foot. Both knees in a cross position, stacked, coming to the right. So you get a little bit, ooh, I got an adjustment, no charge. I get a little bit of you get a little different stretch when you cross those legs. And again, you can always add a support under those knees if you can't go that far. Knees coming back to center, uncrossing the leg. Let's stretch those legs out on the mat. Inhaling, arms overhead, stretching in both directions. Big inhale. And on the exhale, the arms come down, the knees come up to the chest. Last part of wind removing pose. Pulling those knees towards the chest. You can do hands on the shins. You can do hand to hand, forearm to forearm. Eventually, you can lift that head up just to get the elbows, bringing the head back down, compressing both hip flexors this time, compressing the transverse colon. So we've got all parts of the colon being compressed with the right leg toward the shoulder, the left leg towards the shoulder, and both knees to the chest. And let's take a little rocking side to side. Feels pretty good on the low back. And releasing that hug, soles of the feet go towards the ceiling, grabbing the outside edges of the feet, opening that stance, pulling the knees towards the armpits, happy baby pose. If you want to wrap those arms, you can do that. I like holding the outside edges of the feet because I get a nice stretch in that soleus, which is that lower leg muscle that extends from the Achilles tendon. So, rocking side to side. And then releasing the feet down, extending the legs out on the mat. And this is where we go into what I consider to be often the most challenging pose for people to really commit to, and that is Shavasana. Legs extended out on the mat, palms are facing up. Who knows what the universe will drop right into your palm? Maybe a piece of insight, maybe a piece of joy, maybe a piece of information that will be helpful to you throughout your day. Maybe you won't receive anything, and that's okay, but at least be open to it. Remember, the hands are the extension of the heart, so that's where we receive love, good things. So keep those hands up and open, tucking in those shoulder blades, head relaxed down, feet fall open, breathing deeply, and exhaling completely, and just enjoying the stillness. And I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you can. Half-hour Shavasana, excellent. But when you come up, remember to come out gently and slowly, wiggling some small muscle groups. I like to roll onto the right side. This allows the heart to come up just slightly, elevated slightly before we come up to full seated position. So rolling over to the right, taking a couple of breaths here. And then gently bringing yourself up to seated. And again, a comfortable seated position of your comfort level, not of mine. This is my favorite position, but it doesn't work for everybody's knees. You want to come join us? She's pretty relaxed. So yoga by tangent is lovely. She's relaxed, I'm relaxed, we're all relaxed. So let's take an inhale, raising the arms up, bringing the prayer hands to the heart center. And on an exhale, bowing down in honor of all our own practice this evening or this afternoon or this morning, whenever you're doing it. Bowing down, sealing in anything learned, anything gained. Inhaling that heart, that crown back up, the root sinks in deep. The hara line extends between the two. Keep that going throughout your day. And remember, you've done the yoga now, it works throughout the day. You've literally changed your body by doing this yoga, changing it for the better. The divine light and love in me bows to and honors the divine light and love in all of you always. May love guide your way. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste. See you next time. Any information for me, brightbluesageyoga.com. My email is brightbluesage@gmail.com. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time on the mat.